Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into another episode of my podcast. This podcast is going to be on You Have to Give to Get. And as usual, I'm going to start this podcast off with a quote. A noble purpose inspires sacrifice, stimulates innovation, and encourages perseverance. And that's a quote by Hamel. You have to give to get is another universal law that plays an important role in our lives. It's just as important as gravity and all the other laws that we're governed by here on Earth. Even though we're not taught this directly in school as one of the laws that we have to acknowledge, it still plays a part in our lives whether we don't acknowledge it or not. Much like if you walk outside right now and you trip, you're going to fall to the ground. You're not going to float because gravity is acting upon you at every moment that you are present here and standing on this earth. There's the law of attraction, the principle of polarity that we talked about, the principle of vibration, all of those laws and stuff that we've discussed early on in the podcast and that are out there in the universe. They govern our lives whether we give credence to them or not, whether we accept it or not. And we're not really taught about this type of stuff. It's not really circulated in large circles. It's out there. The information is out there. People do talk about it, but it's something that you have to look for as opposed to being freely dispensed and freely put out there like in school. Like I doubt that science teachers are talking about, the law of attraction or the principle of vibration, but yet it's very real. It's something that we need to know because for the lack of knowledge we'll perish. So that when we know how to maneuver and how to operate in the world, we have a better chance of being able to dictate how we maneuver in life because we know the rules and how to play the game. So you can't go to the Super Bowl and try to play football and you've never played football before in your life. Like you don't know the rules of how to play the game. You won't be able to make a point. You won't be able to do anything basically because you don't know how to operate. You don't know how to move. You're in foreign territory. So learning these laws and these principles that govern our lives is another way to ensure that we can be successful in how we maneuver and how we operate through life and help us obtain our goals ultimately. This, in order to give, you have to get. I'm saying, in order to get, you have to give, is a principle that I was taught in school. I was taught by my coaches in sports. I was taught by my mentors earlier on in life. And it applies to so many things. Like if you're trying, it applies to anything like business world, the athletic world. I was taught that in the military. You're taught it in many different spheres and in many different ways, but it's just not put in these terms per se. Now it may come to you that when somebody's giving you this information, they may just put it out here that blatantly, but it comes in different forms. It doesn't come just plainly as that sometimes. Like people say, the more that you give, the more that you get in reference to the law of attraction. Like the more you give us something, the more you attract that into your life. When I was in the military, some of my instructors would tell me the more that I sweat now, the less that I'll bleed later. That was just saying, the more effort that I give now, the more I'm dedicated to the process, the more I practice my craft, the more I am committed to learning and becoming the best me. When I'm put into the situation, I'm going to get back what I gave. So if I was not giving my best, not giving my all, not doing my best, not doing my all, you can't expect to rise to the level of your expectations. You're always going to sink to the level of your training. So in order to get something from the training, in order to get knowledge, get muscle memory, get the discipline that's going to be required for later on, you have to give commitment. You have to give time, dedication. You have that. It's an exchange. You can't get without giving. It just doesn't work that way. You're not going to be able to just get something and not contribute something or give a part of you in the process. And that applies to everything, business, school, it applies to sports, it applies to everything, in macro and micro ways. Like if you want to get a better grade on a test, and you don't understand the subject, or even if you do, you're going to have to give time and effort and commitment, and you're going to have to just put yourself in a bubble and put it out there into the universe. You're going to have to study. You're going to have to be committed to that process of learning and dedicating yourself to obtaining that higher grade. And then in the end result of studying, the end result of applying yourself, the end result of being committed and willing to make that deposit in whatever form it may come, is that you're going to get that good grade back. You're going to get understanding of the knowledge that you've been trying to obtain, and you're going to be able to use it better. But it's an exchange at the end of the day. Also, what I was taught with my coaches in sports was practice makes perfect. Confidence comes through repetition. So at practice, you run over scenarios, you run over plays, you run over different type of situations. You might even know what the other team's going to do. So what we used to do, and what a lot of teams do, well, what all teams do, is they'll get like varsity or first team will practice against second team, and second team will give them what's called a look. So that look is basically they would do the defense or the offense that the opposing team is going to do, and we would learn how we're going to shift or what formation is appropriate for that type of offense or defense. And you obtain confidence for the upcoming game through that, because you see your opponent's playbook. You know what I'm saying? You know what certain things look like. You know what to expect, kind of. So you can adjust accordingly to that, or you can reasonably expect things to go a certain way, things to be in a certain position, based on people's certain positions. And through all of that, you gain confidence. So by giving yourself in practice, by committing yourself to learning the formations and the positions and what route they're going to run, you gain confidence. You have to give to get. You can't go to practice and just be there, not be present, be focused on something else, and just not be in the moment, and expect that when you go to the actual game that you're going to be present, and that you're going to know what you're doing, and that you're going to be able to fly around and make plays and be in the right position, because you weren't present during practice. You weren't there when the universe or that moment was requiring you to give your attention, to give of yourself, to give some sweat and sometimes some blood in order to get that win back, in order to get the success that comes with being knowledgeable in that position. You have to give in order to get. You don't just get. The world doesn't operate like that. You have to give in order to get. So I was told that in order to achieve my goals, in order to obtain my goals, I would have to give sacrifices. But sometimes sacrifices can, or make sacrifices, sometimes sacrifices can be taken as a bad word. So what I did for myself, and what I would encourage you to do, would be to look at it as investments. You have to make an investment in order to get something back. And in business, again, you can't get something without giving something. You can't go into the stock market without giving some money. And in that, you're going to lose money in order to get money, because the stock market is volatile. It doesn't go in a straight line. It's like a roller coaster ride. So in order to make money, you're going to have to spend money. You know what I'm saying? That's just the principle. That's the way it is. You can't just put money in and then you'll get 100% of your investment back, or whatever. Now, there are times when, your investment will succeed, but it is a guarantee that the stock market is going to be volatile, that it's going to go up and it's going to go down. So, but in order to enter into that stock market, in order to be able to benefit from those advantages, you're going to have to give money. You're going to have to give money. It's plain and simple. But it helps me, instead of to think that I'm making sacrifices by doing this, I'm making sacrifices by doing that. I'm making investments into my future. And the reason why I say investments is because if your why is big enough, if the reason that you're creating these goals is big enough and genuine enough and authentic enough, you won't see what you will have to do in order to obtain that goal as making sacrifices. You'll see it as creating or making an investment or a deposit into your future. Like when I went off to boarding school, when I went off to high school, I lost out on a lot of different things. I didn't get like the freedom that you get in high school, just like hop in your car, go back home, go to lunch and stuff like that. I didn't get a lot of different freedoms that public school gives people. But I didn't see that as a sacrifice. I saw that as an investment in my future, because even though I didn't get to partake in some of the things people would call a normal, experience in high school, I picked up a lot as well. So it wasn't a sacrifice. It was an investment into the right things, the things that were right for my life, into a different direction. So I didn't see it as a bad thing. I didn't see it as something that I was losing out on, because it was helping me in my mind get closer to my goal. I said I wanted to be a pilot. I was flying at least at a minimum once a week, every week. So that was an investment towards my future of being an aviator. If I would have been in public school, that might not have been the case. So again, it was an investment for me. It wasn't a sacrifice that I had to make. Those things that I didn't get, or I didn't have access to or obtain because of the lifestyle that I was required to live in high school, were just, it wasn't a big deal, because I was looking at the macro as opposed to the micro. Right now, right here in this time, I'm not able to do this thing, but in the future, in the grand scope of things, when high school and these little things don't matter and I have freedom as an adult, I'll be able to do all of those things. So it didn't really matter. I was willing to give that investment at that point in time in my life, so that I would be able to get the return that would come in the future. Different situations will require a different investment. Some will require time, others will require sweat, while yet and still others will require an emotional investment. It's going to be situational dictates. Not everything is going to require blood, sweat, and tears. But it's going to require hard work. If you want to be successful at something, if you want to be good at something, if you want something to work, it's going to be hard work. And that goes for everything. It goes for relationships, both friendships or emotionally involved romantic relationships. It goes for sports. It goes for the business world. It goes for the military. It goes for your job here currently. Like, in order to get what you want in that field or in that realm, you're going to have to give some of yourself in order to obtain that. You're not just going to be able to come into work and get the success that comes with, dedication, commitment, hard work, long hours, if you're not giving of yourself. Like, you can come into work, clock in, clock out, get your paycheck, and that's what a lot of people do. But if you want to be successful, if you see your job as a career or as something you want to do long term, and if you want to climb up the corporate ladder, if you want to be your best self, if you want to be your higher self, speaking in religious or spiritual terms, you're gonna have to give time, dedication, effort, commitment. You're gonna have to give of yourself on a consistent basis. And sometimes that it looks different. Like, you might have to give blood, sweat, and tears. You might have to give time. Time is your most valuable asset. You might have to give time. What you do and how you do it tells the universe what you want. If you say you want to be successful, but there's not enough time in the day, but you're waking up at 9 o'clock when you have to be at work at 10 o'clock, you could wake up at 5 and start doing things that invest in yourself, and then that gives you a whole 5 hours before you have to be to work. That you can invest in yourself, as opposed to sleeping, late and just waking up barely enough time to go to work. If you want to be healthier, like practice physical fitness, you say there's not enough time in the day. I got to work. I got family, got kids. Wake up earlier. That lets the universe know that you're committed, you're dedicated, that you want to be physically fit, and that you're going to create the means for that to happen. You're willing to give time in order to obtain a healthier body, a better you. So our actions speak directly to the universe. It lets the universe know, like, hey, I want this, or hey, I don't want this. In taking action, we have to evaluate if the action is bringing us closer to our goals or if we're just doing it. Are we giving properly? You can give blood, sweat, and tears, but is it going to help you obtain what you want to get? You can't get, we can, but it doesn't help us to give in the wrong direction. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes if we give our time and effort into, I don't know, a relationship that may not work for us, or that may not be the right person. You're giving your time, you're giving your effort, you're giving your dedication, you're giving your commitment, loyalty, all of that stuff. You're giving it into that relationship. But we shouldn't have been in that relationship in the first place. That person might not be right for you, but you're trying to make it work. So you're giving of yourself in the wrong direction. And I'm not saying the relationship you're in isn't working. That was just an example, that I was putting out there. It was the first thing that came to my head. Or when we're in high school, you're giving of yourself to something that is temporary, something that's not going to last past high school. Like, you're putting all your effort into being cool or being popular so that you could receive all the benefits that come with that. But then after you graduate high school, everybody's going to travel in different directions. Everybody's going to split up. Everybody's going to go to, college, or move away to a different state, or just start their lives in general. So that popularity that you were trying to obtain, that you were giving so much effort into obtaining, now it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It was just for the moment. So we have to conceptualize and realize, what is our goal? Is the thing that I'm doing now, is the effort that I'm dedicating, the momentum that I'm trying to create, is that gonna give me what I want? Is that gonna help me to get what I'm trying to obtain? We can't just, like, giving just randomly with no expectation or idea of what you're trying to get. It's kind of just like sitting in the parking lot in a car and doing a burnout. Like, the engine is working hard, it's creating all this effort, and it's giving all the power it can to the wheels, but you're just spinning there, in one place. You're just spinning there, and you're creating a lot of smoke and a lot of noise, but you're not going anywhere. After 5 minutes of doing a burnout, as hard as that engine is putting out, you're still going to be in that same parking lot or that same stretch of the street, or, you're not going to have moved. But if you give, that same horsepower to the wheels in a different scenario, a different setup, then you'll be traveling in a straightforward direction, hopefully straightforward direction, at 100 plus miles an hour, and you'll be covering a lot of ground. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll leave that space that you started at initially far behind. But it's all about applying effort in the right direction in order to obtain what you're trying to get, to reach the goals that you're trying to get. Try giving where you are now. You don't have to wait. Like, say, when I get, to this position, I'll give more of myself, in order to get something, like, when I get rich, I'll give money to the poor. There's something that you can give now, and you can give time, you can buy food for them and stuff like that. There's something that you can do now. And by giving, right now, in the place that you are, in the space that you are, you're going to get back abundance. You're going to get back generosity. You're going to attract those things to you that you give out. If you give out generosity, you're going to bring that back to you. If you give out, blessings in whatever form, that's going to come back to you, because you're putting that energy out. And we attract what we put out. Whatever energy we resonate, whatever frequency we vibrate at, that's the type of thing that we're going to attract to us. That's the type of vibration or frequency that we're going to attract back to our life. So blessing people is a way of obtaining blessings ourselves. A lot of people, I don't know if they look at that or not, but that's definitely something that I was taught in Christianity. But it's basically, you have to give to get. in order to obtain blessings, you have to give blessings. Like, they don't just come for no reason. Everything is for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Instead of wanting someone to respect you, give respect. If you want to obtain a certain emotion, or you want to obtain a certain response, give that response freely into the universe, into the person that you're interacting with, into the group you're interacting with, and it'll come back to you. Because there's something called the Law of Reciprocity. And it basically says that when someone does something nice for you, you will have a deep-rooted psychological urge to do something nice in return. And that's another law that the universe operates by, that even though we're not taught, it's still just as important as gravity. The law of reciprocity is basically, in very, very simple terms, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. If you want respect, give respect. If you want love, give love. If you want kindness, give kindness. You have to give in order to get. There's no scenario where you just get. You have to give, whether it's physically, whether it's emotionally, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's blood, sweat, and tears. You're gonna have to give in order to get. There's no scenario that we just get without giving. And this is just another law that the world operates by, that by knowing this in conjunction with all the other laws, we could be better enabled to project or dictate where our life maneuvers. You practice gratitude, you invite gratitude in your life. There's the law of vibration, the principle of polarity. There's several other laws. There's many laws out there. So many are like rushing in that I can't pick one out by itself. But there are laws out there that we haven't been taught, but they are taught. The knowledge is out there that you can look up. But not knowing these laws, not practicing these laws, or just practicing these laws by chance and getting random results won't help us maneuver through life. We're basically playing a game we don't know the rules to. So by learning these laws and discussing these laws and how to implement these laws and use these laws, will help us at the end of the day better be able to maneuver through life and achieve our goals.